Hi, everybody, and welcome to our special video series all about the Judge Show for A Celebration of Color 2022. I'm Bob Ruggiero, Vice President of Communications for Quilts Incorporated and International Quilt Festival. And we have a very, very special guest today. She is our grand prize winner. She won the $1,000 cash prize, which was generously sponsored by equilter.com and Luana Rubin. And we have Caryl Bryer Fallert-Gentry. Now, her work is Celebration number 2, which you can see here behind me. It's 64 inches by 84 inches. It's hand dyed, machine appliqued, machine pieced. Over 50% of it is painted, and it's an original design. I'm going to go ahead and read Carol's statement here. She says, "This quilt is a celebration of pattern and color. The design grew out of a series of abstract sketches, loosely based on some original spiral quilting patterns that I've used in many of my quilts." So once again, we'd like to welcome and congratulate Caryl Bryer Fallert-Gentry. So how are you doing today, Caryl?
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, you're the top winner this year. Now, you're very well known for your use of color in your work all throughout your career. So tell me a little bit about why color is so important to you and how you first started using it in your quilts.
Oh gosh, well, I'm kind of a child of the 60s and maybe never recovered from that. And back in the late 60s, early 70s, I can remember going to a show at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., and it was op art. And I never recovered.
So you're a non-recovering colorholic.
Right. So I've also always enjoyed colors, and bright, saturated colors just make me happy when I look at them. So I like being happy.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about what kind of inspired the design of this quilt behind me.
Well, as you read in my statement, I do lots and lots of machine quilting, and these kind of swoopy doopy patterns and spirals recur in my quilting all the time. And I started just doodling on paper and turning those into shapes that I could piece and applique. And at the time I made this quilt in 2015, I was having a big show at the New England Quilt Museum, and I thought I needed to make another really big splashy quilt to be the centerpiece of that exhibit. And so this was it. Celebration 2.
Now, is it better than Celebration 1? Sometimes it's rare that the sequels are better than the originals, unless you're talking about The Godfather, of course.
Well, you know, in looking back at my quilts, a lot of times it's number 2 that's the best one. Number 1 is a small experiment to see if my idea might work. And then number 2 is the one, oh, it worked. Let's make it really big.
That's some very interesting trial and error. So tell me a little bit about actually constructing the quilt and how you were able to put it all together.
Well, the whole thing is constructed with applique piecing, which I kind of invented in 1989 to survive the kind of designs that I was drawing with all of these complex curved shapes. So I draw the whole pattern full size on paper. So I obviously, I make a small design on paper, on copier paper, and print that on acetate, and then blow it up with an overhead projector, and then draw the whole thing in pencil on freezer paper and do a lot of refining on that, and then cut that up, and that becomes the patterns for cutting my shapes. And basically, I have detailed instructions for free on my website of how to do applique piecing. But basically, you iron your templates to freezer paper and cut them out with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then fold over one of the 2 edges and kind of slide them together on a light box and line everything up, and then stitch from the top with invisible thread. And so it's kind of like putting a giant puzzle together, and everything fits, and it's all flat and the right size when you get done.
And what is your website so everybody watching can visit it?
It's www.breyerpatch.com, the way I spell my name, BRYERPACCH.com.
Well, great. Well, Carol, again, it's a wonderful work. I'm sure a lot of people are going to love to see it both at the Salt Lake City and Long Beach festivals. So I guess my last question is, tell me a little bit about what you've got planned for the future.
Well, actually, though these many years later, this summer, starting on the 20th of July, I'm having another big show at the New England Quilt Museum, all work that was not in the 2015 show. So I've been very busy making lots of new work. And of course, with COVID staying home, we weren't doing all the travel that took me away from my sewing machine. So I've been making lots of new quilts. I used to hand dye all my fabric, and then I did some lines of fabric for Benartex and used that fabric for many years and still do occasionally. And now I'm designing almost all my fabric on the computer and having it commercially printed by Spoonflower. So there will be a lot of those quilts in the show at the New England Quilt Museum.
And how long does that show run for?
It runs until the 1st of October.
Oh, okay. So plenty of chances if you're in the New England area to see a lot of Carol's very colorful quilts.
Right, right. I'll be out there on the 17th of September to do a little talk.
Well, great. Well, Carol, thank you so much for taking out the time to do this today. Congratulations again for being the grand prize winner of a celebration of color. Once again, that was a $1,000 prize donated by Luana Rubin at equilter.com. And congratulations.
Thank you.